comment, rate, subscribe. Merch in the description. Check out our Facebook pages. We got marketplaces you can buy and sell stuff on. So this is my cooler mill control 2.0. So pretty much all I did was change 3 cards in the deck, added 3 different cards, and then I added more unisons. So now I have 13 unisons instead of 10. So it's the only difference from this version from the last version. So got 1 copy of the leader, 4 cooler tyrannical assault, 4 full power Frieza 100% overdrive, 4 SS Vegeta exploiting weakness, 4 Super Saiyan Blue Kyoken Goku, 4 Oceana Shenron negative energy explosion, 4 Topo Righteous Aid, 4 Frieza's Death's Embrace, 4 Gowasu Manipulative Supremacy, 4 Beerus Super Combo, 4 Testing the Opposition, 4 Lord Slug Giant Force, 4 Jiren Legend of Universe 11, 4 Sin Shenron Unison of Calamity, and 1 SS3 Gohanks Two-Dimensional Warrior. So this is a 53 card deck. Obviously there's a mill deck. So one thing you definitely want to make sure this deck is more than 50, just so you don't end up decking yourself out or get decked out if you end up in either in a mirror match or something, or against another deck that might have mill-like effects. You don't want to make it easy for them. Always want to make things harder for your opponent, but easier for yourself, right? So the leader auto, when this card attacks a leader card, draw a card. That's the first auto. Second auto, when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased, your opponent places the top card of their deck into the drop area. That's not once per turn, so that can happen multiple times. Very important to keep in mind that it involves your opponent's battle cards power being decreased. So if your opponent's not playing any battle cards, which will be, a logical tactic to use against this deck, not going to really be milling anything if that's the case. So keep that in mind. The only effect in this deck that mills, regardless if your opponent has battle cards or not, it's Cooler Tyrannical Assault and Oceana Shenron. Those are the only cards that mill without your opponent having battle cards specifically, but everything else does minus effects, and they revolve around your leader triggering and making your opponent mill every time you affect the leader. So I was playing against somebody, and I noticed that they were trying to avoid playing battle cards. Part of it is because they didn't have any low-cost battle cards to play, but at the same time, I felt that they knew it was a smart idea not to play battle cards anytime soon. Did notice that they charge some low-cost battle cards that they could have kept, so clearly that's part of what gave you the hint that they're trying to not play battle cards because they know I can make them mill, and they were trying to prevent that, which was smart. Third auto, once per turn, if it's your opponent's turn, when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased by the skill of one of your battle cards, specifically, right, battle card, not unison or any other effect like that, it has to be from a battle card, you draw a card. Then to awaken, when you have 4 less life, you draw a card and switch one of your energies to active mode. Now, your awaken side is your better side, right? It's the cooler side, and because I love this form. Plus, his effects are better. When this card attacks, period, you draw a card. Second auto, same thing as the first. Every time your opponent's battle card power is decreased, they mill. And then third auto, once per turn. When the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased by the skill of one of your battle cards, you draw a card. And this is period. So either on your turn or your opponent's turn, you get that effect, which is better than the front side. The front side is, only applies when it's your opponent's turn. most of your plays, most of your minus effects are going to be on your opponent's turn anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. But there'll be a lot of times where I do minus effects on my turn. It would be nice to be able to draw, because we got lower slug. Minus effect only is on your turn. Since Shenron's minus effect is only on your turn, even this is on your turn. But this is your turn when you swing with this. And some other cards are on your opponent's turn, like this works on your opponent's turn, this one works on your opponent's turn, this one obviously works on your opponent's turn. This can work on either player's turn because, a rival. This only works on your turn because of its active main ability. You get the idea there. Alright. So, Cooler Tyrannical Assault. 20k with double strike. So, obviously, you could use this as a win con. Has a rival for red and blue. And, we do have a super combo for those who want to combine those two and get a 1 energy rival playoff. Sorry. Auto, when you play this card, your opponent places the top card of the deck into the dropper. So just by playing it, they already have to mill. Then choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, which is important, right? And minus 10k from them for the duration of the turn. So that's potential 2 more mill off of that. And then if you do this on your opponent's turn, of course, with your leader effect, you'll draw. So you'll draw a card, so it replaces itself, and you'll be able to mill your opponent up to 3 cards, depending on the situation. And of course, you can use this defensively. This minus 10 ability, could be used even on the battle card that's attacking, because when you rival during battle, so you could use this to weaken your opponent's battle card. Because think about it, you'll use the super combo to increase your power, your leader's power by 10k. Then you rival this, and then minus 10k from the card that they're attacking with, which will reduce the power of that card by 10k. And then, so essentially, you'll be 20k stronger, rough technically, in that arrangement. So they keep in mind. It's a nice little battle trick. So the synergy there for that. So them combining together acts like technically using 2 super combos for 1 energy type of thing. And then so that's how you do it, right? One of the best times to use them, obviously, during your turn, right? And then on your turn, start swinging with double strike. Another thing about Cooler is the fact that you definitely would like to combine it with Freeze's Death's Embrace, with his little brothers. That way, you can get this card up to some, be able to get this card's double strike to go through by using this Freeze's Embrace active battle ability to reduce your opponent's leader's power by 10k, and do it multiple times, so that way your opponent's leaders in the negatives. So it'd be hard for them to out combo this attack, and you can get that attack to go through. So there's synergy in that. Then we have full power freezes, 100% overdrive, 30k triple strike, so it can be used as a win con, as well as first auto. When this card attacks, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and they all get minus 30k power for the duration of the turn. So this can easily wipe your opponent's board, and it's a negative effect, so it will trigger your leader's ability. So if your opponent, for example, has 5 battle cards, and you minus 30k from all of them with this by swinging, your opponent will end up milling 5 cards from the top of the deck. No, I said it wrong, because it's 2 cards. Well, the second auto, it says because their power is decreased, they mill 2 cards. So they'll be milling 1 card for, they'll mill 5 because of your leader's effect, but they'll mill an extra 10 because of this card's second auto when the power of one of your opponent's battle cards is decreased. Your opponent places the top 2 cards of their deck into a drawbridge. So this card's first auto and second auto First auto triggers the second auto, which makes your opponent mill 2 cards for each battle card you decrease by 30k, and if it's 5 of them, 2 times 5 is 10, plus the leader will do 5 more, because 5 battle cards were minus. So that's a total of 15, so you can mill your opponent 15 just by swinging with this. And them having 5 battle cards, so keep that in mind. And the goal is obviously to try and get them down to 15 cards, so that way this could, take them down 15 or less. They could have 12 and 4 battle cards, and that'd be enough for this to mill them out. So this is one of your main win con, through the deck out strategy. But of course, 30k triple strike doesn't hurt. And then combine this with its, chibi form, can get that 30 strike, triple strike to go through, that kind of stuff. Then we have SS Vegeta, Exploding Weakness. Counterplay, you play this card. Permanent, if your leader card is red, this card's energy cost is reduced by 2, so it costs 3 to play. Permanent, I don't know, I already read that. Auto, when you play this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, and they get minus 20k power for the duration of turn. So if your opponent has like 5 battle cards, and you play this minus 20k from on right, your opponent will mill 5 cards. So this is another way of making your opponent mill 5. Making your opponent mill 5, 5 times, 3 times. Make your opponent mill 5 cards 3 times, can help you win. Making your opponent mill 5 cards 10 times is 50 cards, right? So keep that in mind, because the more the merrier. Just a quick note: if your opponent has a 50 card deck, they're going to draw 6 cards, right? For the opening hand, 8 life, so that's going to be a total of 14 cards. Plus they draw for their turns, so that's 15. If they swing with their leader and draw for their leader effect, for example, that'd be 16 cards, and that's just on turn 1. Right, so turn 1, there's already 16 cards out the deck, which will leave them with 34 card deck. If they had a 50 card deck, 34 cards. So for the next, and if they keep drawing a card per the turn and attack with their leader and draw, so they're drawing 2 cards every turn. If they do that for 5 turns, right, drawing 2 cards a turn, that's 10 cards out their deck. They're taken out. So that's an extra 8. So I said 30, 34, so take away 4, so 26 cards. Just they'll have 26 cards left on their own. That's without you milling them with your effects, but on their own, just by playing the game by default, they already will be, by turn 5, will have 26 cards left in their deck. Obviously, the goal is to get them under 26, get them down to 15 by turn 5. Right, so the goal is to get them to 15 cards by turn 5, which means you have to mill them for 11 cards as from turn 1 all the way up to turn 5, right? Well, from turn 1 to turn 4, technically, turn 5 is when you're gonna, finish them off. So for the first 4 turns, so you want to mill them 3 cards per turn. So but since technically with this deck, you're not really gonna. Well, it's possible. Yeah, of course. With Beerus, turn 1, you'll be able to mill them for 3. So you need to mill them 3 cards 4 times. 3 times 4. Mill them 3 cards 4 times. That's 12. And like I said, by default, they're already going to get themselves down to 15 by turn 5, and then you'll just want to finish them off with Frieza if they have 5 battle cards, and then play, swing, bang, 15 cards, easy right there. So something to keep in mind. If you play Vegeta properly, you can get a good amount of mills. If you can get at least 3 to 4 mills per each time you play him, that's always good. Play him on turn 3, play him on turn 4. Before you get to turn 5, you should get about 6+ mills off of doing that. Not to mention anything else you do to mill your opponent. We got Kyoken Goku. 15k deflect auto. When you play this card from your hand, choose all your opponent's battle cards with 20k power or less and KO them. So it's a board wipe. The main use of this card is more so for its active main, pay 2 red energy. If your leader card is red ability, you can place this card from your hand to the drop area, and then one of your opponent's choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets minus 25k power for the turn. So the barrier part is important. Obviously, it helps you deal with any problematic battle card that has barrier, plus it'll trigger your leader's ability to make your opponent mill a card. So it's a good card to combine, especially with Gowasu, because you'll have Gowasu on the field, trigger his effect to manipulate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and the card you want to mill, you'll put it on top of the deck, and then pay 2 reds to play Kyoken Goku's active main ability, target one of your opponent's battle cards, and minus 25k from it, and cause your opponent to mill that good card you want to get rid of. So keep that in mind. Pro tip: always use Gowasu before you start using any of your battle cards, because most of your battle cards have minus effects. So you don't want to, miss the opportunity to mill something good on purpose. It's all about that control. That's why it's called control mill. And then we got Oceanus Shenron. It's a blocker with counter attack. Choose one card from your hand, discard it. So it's just like Topo. It's a cost. You discard a card as a cost in order to play this. Negate an attack and play this card. If you played a card, your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they place the top 4 cards of their deck into a drop area. Based off of how that's worded, it implies you have to play something first, like played as in past tense. Play something first, then play this. So playing a Vegeta, exploiting weakness first because of its counterplay. Play it, get its auto, get all that good stuff out of it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this also has the ability that if you play this on your opponent's turn, your leader gets a 5k power boost for the duration turn. Forgot to mention that, just realized that. Alright, you play Vegeta, then you can drop Oceanus afterwards, negating an attack, and then this card's ability, counter attack ability in effect, and your opponent will have to mill every time they want to attack. So they have to mill first before the attack can go through, can move forward. So you can definitely deck somebody else out on their turn with that. Plus it's a blocker, so you get an extra defense out of it, so you can stop an attack with that. So it will increase your chances of getting 8 mills off of this, because your opponent will try to attack, you'll block it, so they milled 4, and you blocked it, and if they want to try to do damage, they're going to have to attack one more time, right? So you can get 8 mills off of this one copy of this card. Of course, if you play multiple copies of this card in a turn, this effect can stack. If I'm right, I'm assuming it should stack. Then that'd be awesome. If it doesn't stack, that's fine. But if it does stack, that'd be awesome. I definitely like the idea of combining that with Topo, because first you'll play Topo to negate an attack, pitch a card, and you'll only be paying 2 because of its permanent. And then your opponent, since it's your opponent's turn when they attack, they have to discard 2 cards from the hand in order to declare an attack, and then this will make it where they have to pay mill 4 cards on top of the deck in order to attack. So they're paying 2 paying two costs, right? Two prices and, per attack. So they're discarding 2, milling 4, right? So they're losing an advantage, and they're losing, resources from their deck from these 2 cards being combined. So that's pretty nice. This has the permanent that during your opponent's turn, reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 3, so it's a 2 cost. So this costs 2 to play, this costs 2 to play. Obviously you're playing this on your opponent's turn, so they cost 2 to play each. So for 4 energy, you can, and discarding 2 cards, you can set up this 2-card combo, make it where your opponent has to discard 2 cards to attack and mill 4 cards to attack per card. So that's Topo. Can negate an attack, it has a plug gate ability. We have freezes, Death's Embrace, auto. Play this card. When you play this card, draw a card, then active battle. Pay 1 red energy. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle leader cards or battle cards, and minus 10k power for the duration of that battle. This is an active battle ability, so you can play it during either player's turn during the battle step. So obviously, really good cards, to play with the leader. It has great synergy with the leader because of the minusing effect. And of course, the ability to use this effect on a leader comes in handy for when you're trying to go for game with an attack, as opposed to milling your. The main goal is to mill. It's a little bit easier. You can focus more on defense, focus more on interacting with your opponent, like a control. That's why it's mill control, right? You're controlling your opponent's board. Kawasu is helping you control your opponent's draws, and you're milling, so that guarantees you're getting rid of stuff. You're dealing with future threats through Kawasu and the leader's ability, so you have a lot of control. I was playing against somebody, and I was using this, and it definitely greatly reduced their ability to get good stuff, because I kept making it hard for them to get their good stuff. So there's gameplay of that on the channel where I was using Kawasu, and it gave me a lot of advantage. So that was important. So controlling the deck with this, controlling the deck with mills, using stuff like Topo to control your opponent's hand, using your minus effect to control your opponent's board. So it's a lot of control elements in here. Kawasu active main once per turn. Look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and arrange them in any order you want. Pro tip against a graveyard deck, any deck that benefits from battle cards being in the drop area, you always want to push the battle cards more to the bottom of the stack, not to the top of the stack of those 3 cards. So you always want to put them closer to the bottom, and the extra cards and unisons, you want to push them more to the top when you use this effect. And since you're milling, you can obviously get rid of any good extra card or unisons with this. Like, obviously, you always want to get rid of any counter attacks or even counter plays using this method. And so that's against any deck that benefits from battle cards in the drop. You don't want to send battle cards to the drop through your mills. But the opposite, against any other deck that doesn't benefit from battle cards in the drop, those are the ones you definitely want to put the battle cards closer to the top of the stack, closer to the top of the deck, so you can mill them through your mill effects. And you obviously want to combine, because these two have great synergy together. In the other build, I was using Gawasu and mainly Lord Slug as the little engine to, to control my opponent's draws. But Frieza's Death's Embrace is actually a lot better to combine with Gawasu in that regards. One of the issues with like the Giant Lord Slug and Gawasu's strategy is that Lord Slug is easy to attack, right? Granted, he does have a +1 ability, right? You have to give up a card to do so, but he does have a +1 ability, so that's so he sticks on the field a little bit longer. But if your opponent, puts in the effort, they could easily get rid of him. I mean, he's still worth playing, worth playing part of the strategy, because having this in play, and Gawasu, and triggering your leader's effect multiple times, obviously has a lot of benefits. Just like having multiple Gawasus and mills, right? Because you want to play one Gawasu's effect, right? Manipulate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, mill them, right? Then activate the second Gawasu's effect, manipulate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and then mill again. You'll get a lot of benefit out of that if you're combining all those things. But like I said, your opponent could attack the Unicid and whatnot and get rid of it, so it can hurt your engine. But we do have Frieza's Death's Embrace, which definitely has great synergy with Gawasu and the leader. If you can trigger the effect the leader multiple times with Frieza's Death's Embrace. Also, you can do it on your opponent's turn, so that helps a lot. And then we have Beerus Divine Obliterator super combo. If your leader card is red or blue, and the leader's red. If it's your opponent's turn, when you combo with this card from your hand, choose up to one of your red-blue multicolored energy and switch it to active mode. Forgot to mention earlier, the first energy you want to charge is multicolor, and then after that, just mono red. This deck leans towards red more, so charge one multicolor energy, and then the rest. Sorry, then the rest will be mono red, and of course this will let you untap one of your red-blue energies, so that we can use it to, tap for energy, especially if you want to do an arrival play, because you can obviously combo this for free, untap a red-blue energy, tap the red-blue energy, and then play Cooler Tyrannical Assault. And by doing this on your opponent's turn, you'll get to draw a card, make your opponent mill a card, and then minus 10k up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, and potentially make them mill 2 more cards in the process. So, really good synergy with those 2 cards combined, especially it's something you could do first turn 1. You charge a multicolored energy, end your turn, your opponent tries to swing with their leader, you'll play the Beerus just so you can get to untap and hopefully they have at least 2 battle cards, right? So you can get the most out of this. At least 2 battle cards, so that way you can untap your energy, tap it, do their rival play, make them mill, draw, make them mill, minus 10k to 2 of your opponent's back card, hopefully making them mill 2 more cards, right? And then draw because you did minus a battle card. So that way you can get at least 1 card back from that combo. Pretty simple, straightforward. Another thing you could do with the Beerus is use it to untap an energy, then use your leader's ability to awaken to draw a card and untap an energy. So you have 2 energies up, right? And then go from there. And then that way you have 2 energy up in case you need to play a Topo or a Oceanus Shenron or a testing opposition. So you want to keep that in mind, that you want to be able to save your unawakened and your Beerus, combine them too, so that we can get yourself up to 2 energy, so you can testing opposition or Oceanus Shenron or Topo, so we have some type of potential to defend yourself. Another thing you could do is obviously set it up where you could potentially use this to untap an energy, so you can end up with 3 energy in case you need to drop a Vegeta in your opponent's turn. So that's another thing you can do with it. Then we have testing that position. Of course, it being a super combo, you can obviously combine it with your Frieza full power or your Tyrannical Assault Cooler to go for games, as well as combine it with Frieza's Death Embrace, which technically is like having a whole bunch of super combos. So there's a lot you can do with those. Testing that position. Counter attack. If your leader card is mono red, which it is, negate the attack and play 1 token. It's 1 Cyberman token with 5k power, 0 cost 5k combo, and blocker. So you can potentially stop 2 attacks with just 1 card. Permanent, if your life is 5 or less, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding 1 card from your life to your hand and play this card for free. It's not once per turn, so you can play multiple copies of this card in a turn if you can afford to add life to your hand to do so. For each copy, you can stop up to 2 attacks per each copy. So 2 copies can stop potentially 4 attacks. In the gameplays that I've had, the other version of this deck, you see me using this position a lot. I tend to tap out a lot. So having free negates is always good. And we have Lord Slug, Giant Force, 15k crit. This comes in handy when I want to deal 1 point of damage, because it's crit, but not give them a hand advantage in the process. Because even though the main thing to do with this deck, or the main goal, is to mill your opponent out, if your opponent's trying to not play battle cards for you to mill them out, that's why it's important that we have other win cons. So that's why I did mention that we do have battle cards that that can deal a lot of damage, and if you use them right, they're win cons. Right? Frieza's Embrace is good for the mill engine, but you can just use it to weaken your opponent's leader, and then go in with triple or double strike and go for game. So that's something to keep. Just like using Frieza's Embrace to weaken your opponent's leader, right? To make it hard for them to out combo your Lord Slug's attack. So you can swing every turn with Lord Slug's 15k, crit. Use Frieza's Embrace to weaken your opponent's leader. So that way, even if they play super combos, it's just be a waste. And just drastically increase your ability for your crit to go through. And they're not benefiting, right? They're not getting anything out of the crit damage getting through. And you can slowly just, chip at their away at their life, and you can win that way. He has the +1 ability that lets you choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. And then if you do, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, which is important. And it gets minus 10k power for the turn. So this is good for getting rid of any problematic battle card that has barrier, like a Floodgate battle card that has barrier, or just making something weaker in general. Of course, it triggers the leader's ability, so you can, every turn, make your opponent mill a card. And then has the -4 ability, auto, leader card red, which is when your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So counter skill, counter play, counter attack, counter. So that's very useful, especially when you're using this to give it the +1 counter on to trigger the effect to make your opponent's leader mill. If you're dealing a good amount of damage, or your opponent's self-awakening, as it were, right, dealing themselves damage, as it were, and getting their life low enough that they put themselves in danger zone, right, you can take advantage of this card hurting them. Plus, you can also use this just to play this, like you play this before, energy, so it has 4 markers, and then like swing with like a Tyrannical Assault, or a full power Frieza, for example, or just anything, even the leader, right? And if your opponent plays a counter attack, boom, this will trigger and burn them. If they only have one life, they end themselves out. If they have testing that position and they use the ability to take a life to play this for free, since it is a counter attack card, they'll take a damage for this if this is in play. So, double-edged sword. So it just adds extra pressure on your opponent, which is always good. Sometimes that explains why my opponent attacks this card a lot when I play it, because of the fact that they know that -4 ability can be a problem late game, which is good. Want them to fear it. Fear it! Then we have Jiren, Legend of Universe 11, as an auto. When your opponent plays a battle card or unison card, you may choose that card and it gets -10k power for the turn, if you do negate the skill for the turn. So it's a one-time use per turn ability, and it can be used on either player's turn, so keep that in mind. Sometimes people play stuff on your turn, like a Tobo, right, or some type of battle card negate or counterplay battle card, an arrival card, and I've had that happen a couple times. I've used this effect even on what's his name, Hachiak. Want to drop Hachiak, baby Hachiak on me, and I'm like, boop, -10k. Let me get a quick mill off of that, and so that was a thing. It has the +1 ability where it can give itself double strike, so that comes in handy in case you want to take down your opponent's unisons, knock off a couple markers off your opponent's unison while giving yourself a marker. So that's always good. And then it has the -3 ability, active battle ability. Only when this thing is not battling, as in when this gets attacked, you can't use the -3, obviously. But any other time you're in battle, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and he gets -25k power for the duration of the turn. So it kind of acts like a simulated, right? Piccolo's simulated ability. So it kind of works like that, kind of acts like that. So, but it ignores barrier, it does 25k, which is nice to have. You definitely want to take advantage of that. Most people tend to attack this to make it lose markers, so it can't use its active battle ability. So, which is good in one way, because that just means they're wasting attacks on this thing instead of attacking you, which is always good. So it's actually putting it in extra work. So, like that. And then we have Shenron, Unison of Calamity. It has 3 useful effects, of course. It's permanent. Your red cards can attack your opponent's battle card in active mode, so that can definitely come in handy in many situations. It has the +1 ability. Choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, and they get a -15k power for the turn. So this can potentially get you 2 mills per turn. So by weakening 2 of your opponent's battle cards every turn, you can mill your opponent twice. And if you're on your awakened side, you get to draw a card, so you'll draw a card in the process. You'll get a marker, obviously, so it'll help this card stick on the field longer. It's a 20k body, so that already helps. Also, this is a 20k body, so it definitely makes it harder to knock markers off of these battle cards, unisons. Then this has a -2 ability. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a battle card with 25k power or less, and discard it. So this is useful. I got rid of a Gohan's baby's minion with this once. I was able to see my opponent's hand. I saw that they had an Android 17. That's in the gameplay in the from the other deck that's on the channel. Yeah, it was funny. I saw he had Android 17's hand, but I didn't realize is that he actually charged that Android 17 later, like a turn after that. I thought he still had it in his hand. But then eventually, later on, he got another Android 17, so he still ended up playing one eventually. But that's the thing. I was doing my best to try to make it hard for him to get Android 17, but at some point he managed to get one. So that's the thing. That was fun. Of course, the ability to look at your opponent's hand is useful because it lets you know what they got, what they're going to do, what they could do. That way you can plan out your next 2 turns. Because playing this on turn 3 and then do the -2 so you can look at your opponent's hand, rip something out of it, it could be a problem, especially an immediate threat. And then slowly, you know, start planning out your turns so that way you don't make a mistake of tapping out like on turn 4 and then your opponent goes off. It's like, oh man, if I only knew that you had the ability to do what you just did, I would not have tapped out. Well, that's where this comes in. This lets you see what's in the hand so you can pretty much predict and predict what they're going to do and play accordingly. So very powerful effect to have the ability to look at your opponent's hand. Hand knowledge is so broken in any card game. Because most of the time you're guessing, you're trying to figure shit out. I mean, I have ways to figure out what's going on in my opponent's hands, just based off of what they charge in their energy area. Gives me it's like a mirror effect. It pretty much shows me what they have in their hand. Because if they put a really good card in their energy area, either they have a better card in their hand or they have another copy of that card in their hand. So that's usually an indicator of what's in their hand based off of what they charge. So that's something I always keep in mind. Plus, seeing what's in their energy area gives you an idea of also what's the strategy of their deck. Because if you see a lot of good cards and you see a lot of those cards have synergy, you'll be like, if he has extra copies of those cards and he plays them together, he can do some really crazy thing. I gotta keep an eye out for that. So sometimes just looking at your opponent's energy area literally gives you, you know, so much knowledge that you can take advantage and, you know, win the game because of it. Most people don't know that. The real masters of card games, they know that, like myself, but most people don't know that they should look at their opponent's energy area and, you know, figure out their opponent's deck based off of that and go from there. And same goes for how what your opponent combos, like what they combo from their hands, is another indicator of what their hand looks like and whatnot. Because usually your opponent is going to combo off cards that are not that important and they're going to keep cards that are important in their hands, obviously. So that's another pro tip right there. That's from years of experience. So we got Gohank's Ultimate Dual Attack Blocker. He's 25k. Auto, when this card is played, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, which is always important, right? Notice that I have a lot of ignoring barrier cards, right? And they get minus 25k power for the duration of the turn, which is good because obviously this will help you trigger your leader's effect. What's nice about this card is that because it's a unison, you don't have to worry about like God Sealing Trunks, which, you know, obviously would be a problem. Because if you try to do a scenario where you're playing like your Frieza, you know, or you're playing your Vegeta on your turn, you know, they could get God Seal, so then that will suck. But just being a unison, you can clear your opponent's board and not worry about a God Sealing or something similar stopping you from clearing the board and 2 getting mills off of the minusing 25k from their opponent's battle card. So this just has great synergy with this leader, obviously. And definitely put this card's definitely been battle tested with this leader, so it's definitely a good card with it. Great. +1 ability, auto. When your opponent attacks with a battle card, you may choose it, and it gets minus 25k power for the turn. So you get to choose when that triggers, of course. And you know, it's a nice ability that you can take advantage of. It only applies when your opponent's battle card attacks, so you're really only using this on your opponent's turn. But that's a useful turn to use that effect anyway. So your opponent attacks, you can take advantage with a battle card. You can take advantage of that and trigger your leader's ability. Draw a card plus make them mill. So there's synergy there. And then since it's giving itself a marker, it helps it, you know, stick on the field longer. Plus, it's a blocker, so when you do use it to block, and if it loses a marker, that's okay because it's more likely to gain a marker. Another funny thing you could do, since that's an auto, if your opponent attacks this unison with a battle card, you can do the +1 ability to minus 25k from that battle card. Right, just to make sure that it can't knock knock a marker off of this card. So that's something you can keep in mind. And then like I said, it triggers the Legion's ability. Then it has the -4 ability, active main. This card gets 15k power, so it becomes a 40k, and triple strike. So it's a 40k triple strike, essentially a finisher for the turn. And at the end of the turn, switch this card to active one. Understand that this has a dual attack and it's a blocker, so that's an important detail, right? So since it has dual attack, and if you turn this into a 40k triple strike, they can attack twice. That's 2 chances of the triple strike getting through. Just this card alone can potentially do 6 damage, so it's a pretty big deal. And it's a specified cost of 4 red, so it's a 4 drop. So you gotta love that 4 drop, right? So we're always trying to get to turn 5, so this is a great card to play turn 4. What I like to do is turn 3, play this. I mean, this Jiren is really good in certain matchups, but I definitely like to play this first and do the -2 ability, weaken my opponent's hand, swing, do some damage and whatnot, do some board clearing or deal, or clear my opponent's board, because this can be used as a board wipe. I can use the +1 ability to minus 15k from 2 of my opponent's battle cards to get rid of 2 battle cards, then attack another battle card with this, so that way I can get rid of 3 battle cards, attack with the leader to a battle card, and potentially get rid of 4 battle cards. So just with this unison, and the leader, I can get rid of up to 4 battle cards, so I can clear a board. So it does work like a pseudo board wipe, on top of the fact that we have other board wipe cards in this deck. And then of course this just inherently has a board wipe ability, so there's that. Under the right conditions, this could be used as a board wipe. So there's that. What was I saying? Use this as a finish. Oh yeah, play this on turn 3. Do this thing. Either clear my opponent's board or look at my opponent's hand and get rid of the problematic card. And then turn 4, drop this bad boy. Put in some work, right? As they say, put in some work. And if this is still on the field on turn 5, obviously I'm going to take full advantage of that. -4 ability and try to go in for game with it. So that's the main thing. So if they don't want to lose on turn 5 from this card alone, definitely should try to get rid of it. And I've had a situation where my opponent did try to get rid of it, and they succeeded, but they wasted so many valuable attacks just to try to get rid of this one card, which was awesome. Such a great card when my opponent I play it, and I get so much defense out of this card beyond its actual capabilities. Like, this can potentially stop 2 attacks. But if my opponent wants to get rid of it, they just waste so many, because this will have 5 markers. That's a given. It'll have 5 markers, plus it'll get rid of something, so it will already stop 5 things. It has the potential to stop 5 things. Oh, plus it's a blocker, so it has the potential to stop 6 things. So it has the potential to stop 6 like attackers. Like, just by itself, just think about the math. Like, I've seen this thing in action. Like, it has stopped a lot of attacks. My opponent went wide, but all those wide attacks were straight just to this one card. I'm like, you kidding me? You were better off attacking my leader for all that. you would have had a better chance of winning in that situation. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. Plus, I always loved the Super Saiyan 3 form, and Gohan's pretty cool. What else? And yeah, like I said before, get your opponent down to 15 or less cards, and then just play Frieza and minus 30k from at least 5 battle cards at most, right? At least 5 battle cards, and tokens count as well, of course. Minus 30k and back. Know your opponent out for game. That's the end of the video.